Embark on a journey through the solar system and beyond, exploring the possibilities of life beyond planet Earth. Pretty good for a sentence. As the leader of a space exploration agency, you'll learn to navigate a dynamic, rotating solar system in your search for extraterrestrial life. Launch probe missions, study distant stars, and operate cutting-edge technology, enhancing your equipment to broaden your search. Along the way, make use of over 200 cards featuring real-world technologies and discoveries, each brought to life with unique illustrations and effects. You know what I like about this back of box is that was, from start to finish, that was 4 sentences. Those are kind of camp sentences, right? So I think this is a 3 boing for me. Today on the board, boys.
SETI.
SETI. Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Board Boys Podcast, Season 16, Episode 2. Tonight on the docket, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This is your board boy, E.T. Rob.
Gross.
That's what I wanted.
Oh yeah, I forgot that you hate E.T.
He was my childhood nightmare. Yep.
This is your boy, E.T. Cam. No, I'm just kidding.
This is your boy, ETTK.
This is your board boy, Space Cowboy Jake.
And this is your boy, not E.T. Cam. SETI Cam, a.k.a. Boinker McDoinker, a.k.a. Boinker McDoinker.
Hey Cam, what are your thoughts on Area 51?
I don't know. Like, I liked the arcade machine when I was a kid. I don't think, personally, all this alien stuff going on. Obviously, there's some weird stuff going on, but I just don't think that it could possibly be aliens, given like how far away. I don't know. Well, maybe we'll learn some crazy stuff here in the near future, but
It's highly doubtful. I mean, we're going to learn some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But not aliens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The corruption and that kind of stuff. We'll figure all that out.
Yeah.
And no one will care.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that I think that it's impossible that there's aliens. I just think that all this stuff we've been talking about the last couple of years, there's like no way.
Like, that alien would have to be so advanced.
Yeah, exactly.
To even remotely get here, to even find us, it would be.
Yeah, and like the manures they talk about these craft doing that would just like turn any organic being into jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's sentient, like little it's sentient spacecraft, like in a super hard sci-fi.
Like if you really like the only way that you would ever really be able to like send your species out into the vastness of space would be through some sort of machine.
Right.
And the fact that like there aren't machines everywhere just leads me to believe that it's just not. There's just not around.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's what I think.
And you know, they're like a lot of people talk about basically there being maybe one sentient species per galaxy.
That still seems like too much.
Well, I mean, you know,
to me personally,
sentient species.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Of the hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy.
Yeah.
One.
And I'm saying to me that still seems like too much.
Yeah.
I think the odds are so astronomically rare. But I mean, how many galaxies are there?
Trillions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously life somewhere, right?
Yeah, right here, dude.
Yeah.
That's not on Earth.
Center of the universe.
Yeah. And
the odds are that there has to be someone somewhere.
Okay. So if you think it's less than that, 1 in every 100 galaxies has some sort of sentient life, right? So that basically means we're about the only thing around at all.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's impossible that there's.
What if they've transcended their bodies?
Yeah, and we treat each other so poorly. It's so sad. Like that we're the only people around like, and we just screw this up and this is it. This is like, there's nothing else, you know? And I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me really weird to think about.
Yeah.
It's
like-
wild, man.
Like, we screw
Rob
this
said,
up.
Rob said get the energy
Yeah,
up.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
We screw this up and there's like nothing. There's nothing, you know? So, sorry to bring the energy down.
I mean, it is.
Until we
like,
terraform Mars, just like the
Yeah,
game.
okay. Yeah. yeah.
I mean, life is exceedingly special.
yeah.
And so, like, we shouldn't be screwing around with it.
Hey, Cam, why don't you hit us with the E.V.A story of the week?
I want to tell a story about a dream I had last night, and I don't think I should to hog up the time to do both. So I will do an E1 story next week, I promise. But I have to talk about this because it's like maybe once every 15 years that I have a funny dream. And so I'm not due for another one until I'm 55.
Okay.
So, and I think it's kind of a Steve Walsh dream. In fact, I can't quite remember because, you know, you dream and then you wake up, and I can't remember if I woke up at like 6 a.m. and this was the dream, or if I woke up at like 8, or, you know, like when my alarm went off. And because I did wake up to a Steve Walsh alarm today where he goes, listen, you know, very soon there will be, I can't really do a British accent, I'm sorry, to Ichabod specifically. But I had a dream last night that I was listening to a British radio program in like, I think it would have been like maybe the 1980s. And it was, there was like a personality DJ, and his name was Murray Moon. And he was doing a Halloween radio show, Rob, for the Halloween show. Like you
I
would
like it.
And so he was coming on the radio, and he's being like, "You're back now at the top of the Halloween hour for Murray Moon's Scurry Tunes," and that's what he was saying. And so I thought that was funny in the dream that he had a good name for his Halloween show, Murray Moon's Scurry Tunes. And the whole thing of the show was he would have people call in, and they would tell like funny stories about like what was spooky was happening to them right now, and they'd like make stuff up. And so like a guy would call and be like, "Hey, Murray, good talking to you. Me mum just came home from the grocery store with she had a big cut on her arm, and now she went into the room and I can hear her howling, and oh my gosh, Murray, me mum's a werewolf." You know, and then Murray would be like, "Oh, that's terrible for you, Billy. Let's put on Thriller by the one and only Michael Jackson." And like, you know, then the music would play. So at the end of this dream, I had the opportunity to go to Murray Moon's studio for the Halloween show. And so did all the people who were calling in. And when I got there, I realized that none of the people who were calling in were joking. And it was all true. And a lady who had called in about being a zombie tried to eat my face off. And I was like, I was like holding her like snarling like zombie lady away from like chomping my head off at the end. And I was like, man, I thought it was just supposed to be a joke. And I woke up and I like, it really made me laugh. Because, like, how funny is that, right? It's a pretty funny
I don't know
dream.
if I remember the last time I had a dream that vivid.
Like, once every 15 years is when I have a dream this vivid. I can tell you all of the dreams I've had. Like, so maybe every, like, 10 years. I've had, like, 4 dreams this vivid in my life. So, that's pretty...
That's a lot of details.
That's pretty funny, right?
That's wild.
Yeah. So, it was a pretty funny dream.
Were you playing zombie video games before?
No, I wasn't. But like, I do think I woke up to like the DJ Steve Walsh being like, "Listen," and you know, he's like a radio DJ, and so like, and he's a British radio DJ from the '80s. So I think maybe that like kind of mixed with like my wake up, because I went to bed too late last night. You know how you kind of like when you're waking up to your alarm, and you're still really tired. It's kind of like that whole thing can kind of mesh into what.
Like you don't know you're awake yet.
Yeah. Yep.
I get you.
I had a Star Wars dream that was really vivid one time. Anyway, Jake.
I also very irregularly remember dreams, but lately I've been having a recurring one, which is also something that I've never had before, and it's that I sold my current house and moved back into my first Ankeny house, and like I'm getting moved in, and then I'm just like, why did I do this? This house is worse. And that is what I feel. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh wait, that's not real. But it's I have that dream probably like once every 2 weeks now.
Does it kind of sound like that sounds to me like literally Freud would want to psychoanalyze that dream? Like, because think about the significance of that. Like, are you worried that that you're actually like losing progress in life right now? Is that a concern?
No.
Is that a subconscious concern?
I mean, it's hard to know when it's your subconscious because you're not aware of it. But
I mean, I'm aware of my subconscious. So.
I can't think of anything in particular, but I know there's been a couple times recently where I've woken up and then a few minutes later had to remember that, oh no, that was just a dream, that wasn't real. Or like I'm kind of awake and I'm like, oh God, I can't believe that's happening. And like I was awake and I'm like, God, wait, no. Like I can't exactly remember what it was about, but I know I was like just kind of waking up being like, oh man, and then realizing, oh wait, that's not real.
Deanna will have dreams where she'll wake up and be like, especially about like our daughter, she'll be like, I had a dream that Gia's not okay, and then she'll like go look at her crib and she'll be like, she's okay. I'm like, yeah, that's a dream. So she's very rarely like sometimes I'll say something mean to her in a dream and she'll be like, we'll wake up and she'll be like, you said something mean to me in my dream. Like, okay.
Like, and then you say something mean in real life.
Yeah.
You can get in trouble anywhere, Campbell.
Yeah, I can. Like tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight, I ordered food for us to eat tonight, and I sent it to my house instead of Rob's house.
That's true.
20 minutes away from here.
Campbell's hangry, and he's wondering, where's my food? He's like, why is this driver taking such a weird path?
He's checking it every like 3 minutes to see where he's at.
And I never noticed, because the thing is, I don't really know where this Thai restaurant is, and I saw like a loop coming around, and so I thought I thought it was like a smaller map showing like the drive like up Cherry Street, and I didn't even bother to look at it. It was like the drive was like the dude coming down like Interstate 35 from the furthest Thai restaurant from my house in the entire metro.
That's why you asked for such a big tip, Campbell.
Maybe that is why it was a $16 tip. That like DoorDash, I was like, DoorDash, why are you putting a recommended $16 tip on this thing? Because I made the guy use a ton of gas, and he still took the delivery. Sorry, dude.
Yeah,
and I was ripping
surprised
on.
somebody took that. I mean, that's like a half an hour trip.
Yeah. Maybe the guy just likes driving.
for a $16 tip.
But then how about Siam Table then also receiving a second order
of the exact
same thing?
Maybe they were like,
from my account.
Yeah, maybe they're like that. Like,
and that only took like 20 minutes to get here.
It depends on how busy they are. Because if I see the same order twice in a restaurant when it's like slammed, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, popular dishes. And then if I saw it when it was like slow, I'd be like, that's crazy.
Oh.
Buy a lottery ticket.
All right. Well, this is a board game podcast. Let's talk about some games we've been playing. I want to talk about the Mandalorian Adventures. This is from Corey Konetska and Unexpected Games. I picked this up at Gen Con, and Bo and I finally got around to start playing it. And we're 2 missions in, and it's pretty fun. It's like an 8-story campaign, I think, with unlockable stuff as you go. And basically you play as one of the characters in every mission. And it has a unique little system where you play cards down to one of the actions. And some of the cards do extra stuff if they are used for part of the action. And if you every card also has a value on it, and that's how strong that action will be. So you have a hand of cards, and they maybe be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then some of them say, if you use this card as an attack action, you also can do this extra thing, like maybe you get to move or something. And they're all thematic to the characters. If you've seen the Mandalorian TV show, you're basically playing season 1 of the Mandalorian. So the first episode, you're going to look for Grogu. And you're hanging out with IG, and he's not IG-88, but...
You're talking about Baby Yoda?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just call him Baby Yoda, dude. That's what the internet named him.
Nope. Grogu, my friend. Anyway, now you threw me all the way off.
Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about Baby Yoda. So, might be...
So you can attack, you can move, you can do some things to plan. The other act, and you can move guys around, and... The thing is, once you bust, so if you bust on a certain action, as soon as the power of that action is over 5, the total of the cards that have been played there, then then an event happens. And if you hit exactly 5, you're good. But if you go over 5, an extra bad thing happens. So it's kind of gamey on where to play cards where, and you kind of got to talk to the other player. And it definitely doesn't have an alpha gamer problem because you have your own hand of cards that aren't being shared. So you really got to talk out strategies and things. It's really fun. I'm curious to see where else it goes story-wise. I know a lot of the characters that are in the game, but so far we've only played with 3 different ones. but everybody's deck is different, and they like have all their special powers, and everything you unlock more cards for the decks.
How long is the game?
Like half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels not Gloomhaven-y, but Gloomhaven's like and you play out of a book like Jaws of the Lion, so you're just playing out of a book like that.
What a good idea.
Yeah, man.
That, instead of I don't know
having to put together map tiles and stuff all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, that whoever figured out that they should just make those into books.
Yep.
Like Plaid Hat Games does that a lot with all their stuff. They have like stuffed fables, and I haven't kept up with all their different ones, but they love doing like the storybook dudes on a map games.
Well, did I play anything new this time around? What do you guys got? I'll think of something.
I'll talk about one that Rob actually did a group Kickstarter backed, Rebirth, and the designer is Reiner Knizia, and the publisher is Mighty Boards.
Good old Reiner,
Who pumps out board games on a level that is unmatched. So the theme doesn't really make a ton of sense. So, but it's like a post-apocalyptic world, and you're rebuilding.
Yeah, you're growing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what it was.
You're rebuilding
That's the theme.
things.
Yeah. You can not know that, and it doesn't make any difference. Basically, what's going to happen is you have a pile of tiles in front of you, and you're going to draw one, and you're going to play that tile. And so based on what the tile is, it's either going to be a lightning bolt, which goes and creates energy. It's a farm that is going to create food, I guess, or it's a city with a number of houses, 1 through 4. And you draw your one tile, and you play it. And so you're going to score points by... If you're playing the electrics, each electric hex of yours that's touching it will give you points. So, it starts at 1 and it'll continue to build. The same thing goes for farms. And then the cities, they're going to award points when the city area is completed. And those are either 1, 2, or 3 big. And if you play on the other side of the board, they can get up to 4. I think it's just 1, though, that gets that big. But that is largely it. There are different area control things where you put these little castles out. And then if you control those at the end, you get points. If you build next to these cathedrals, you get if you're playing on the Scotland map, you get private scoring objectives. If you play on the Ireland side, then basically it's just going to activate a bonus, or it's going to contribute to you activating a bonus if you've built around certain ones, and you do that until you're out of tiles, and that's the game. It's certainly pretty light, and there is a decent amount to think about. You are certainly very limited in what you can do based on the tile that you draw, and that I still don't know how I feel about ultimately. I mean, it's a quick game that you just score a lot of points, and it's a pretty low overhead, but I don't know. I think it would be better if you had like a hand that you chose from. So even if it was just 2 tiles, then I don't know, they would give you a little more flexibility, I guess. But I don't know. I like it. It's the table presence is cool. The components are nice. It's
kind of like Carcassonne. Some people don't like that for that same reason, and a lot of people play with like the 3 tile variant, where you just have three tiles at a time. I don't mind either way. Like the one helps keep AP down, I guess.
Yeah.
And I like tactical stuff anyway, so it's kind of like, okay, where's my best move right now kind of thing. I do think it's interesting, like, because you remove some tiles at the beginning of the game, so you don't know.
2. Yep, on the Scotland side, you pull 2, and you get to know what those are.
Yeah,
but
so you
else
know what you
doesn't.
can't do, which is kind of interesting, because there might be certain things like, well, maybe I won't do as much of that this game.
Yeah.
Or
Have you played the Ireland side, whereas the public objectives?
I've only played the more basic side, which is the Scotland one.
A lot of people that I've talked to have said they like the Ireland one better, which is the public objectives, and then there's these towers that you actually get bonuses. But I don't know. I think I might like the private objectives better. It just seems like your moves should be more scripted in the Ireland one, because those bonuses, it matters where you place stuff to get certain things, and then there aren't the tiles that you aren't going to use. Like, you pull them out, but then there's an action that lets you play the ones that you have hidden. I don't know. I mean, they're not a ton different, and they do offer some versatility, but I think I probably do like the Scotland one, which is the more basic one more. Tim, what were your thoughts?
I quite liked it. I don't know. I mean, we played it 2 player, so it was like 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah, we zipped through it for sure.
So
Knizia loves the tile laying games.
yeah, I mean, I like for what it is, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is there a more basic version of it are the upgraded stuff?
I don't know what was special in the Kickstarter.
Okay.
I'm imagining all those plastic pieces maybe, but
All like the big castles.
yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. I don't think it's very expensive though.
Yeah,
No, that's
right.
one of the reasons why I went for
Well,
it.
I mean, even now, like if
It was
people
like
that
like $40 or something.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if like is what I played base game and there's no upgrades, or is it
I'm not sure.
okay? Because it could very much be just little cardboard chits and
That would be hard for the castles, like
Sure.
to know who's score. I mean, yeah. It's a fun game if you like tile layers that are quick and have a low bar of entry, and especially if you like tactical stuff. I think it could be a good game to recommend.
yeah. I mean, you drew a bunch of cards too, so there was like as you
If you get those objectives, yeah.
Seemed a
In
little,
balancing those objectives, I think makes it more interesting as well. Kind of the same thing as cities. That's the thing I like the most about cities is all the objectives that you're managing.
Cam, you got a game?
Yeah, I do. I got two, actually. First one, these are both, again, this is kind of my board game arena era until my kid's a little older, but some cool new stuff came to Board Game Arena. There's a lot of cool new stuff, but two that are popping in right now, I think are going to be memorable. Zenith, is this on anybody's radar? It's by the Castle Combo designers and Playpunk, which I think Playpunk is Captain Flip, right?
I don't know.
I think so. Could be wrong. But anyway, this is a two-player kind of tug-of-war, sphere of influence game that, every two-player game is kind of a tug-of-war. And it's a two-player kind of tug-of-war card game where it's multi-use cards, sorry, Rob, but they're not super multi-use. Essentially what you're trying to do is there's 5 planets, and the main way to play a card is you play a card, and whatever color the card is, that it's like this is like a politician you're sending to that planet to influence over to your side. And so if I do it for Earth, it's like the blue planet or whatever, and I play it, and I move the Earth marker like one more space towards me. And then every card has a second ability, and if you meet the requirements or some don't have requirements, you just do that ability too, which could be moving other planets or taking money or the one other resource. Every card has a money costs, and the more powerful the card is, the more expensive it is, but you get a discount for every card you've already played of that color that's in your tableau right then. The way you win the game is by collecting the same planet 3 times. So you totally dominate one planet. You collect 4 different planets or any 5 planets, right? So I could collect red twice and purple twice and blue once. And what makes the game, I think, really fun is there's 3 suits of planets. So I guess there's 5 colors, but then there's 3 different types of cards too. There's human cards, there's an animal card, and there's robot cards. And what these matter for, there's 2 other spheres of influence. There's a thing called the leader badge, and there's a strong side and a weak side for it. Anytime you gain the leader badge, you'll take it from the opponent. If you already have it, you flip it to its strong side, which will have an effect with a lot of the cards you play if you have the leader badge. And depending on what type of card you play, you get a different benefit for that. And then there's a technology board. There's 3 levels of technology, and you go up in that level of technology if you're doing the technology board, depending on what type of card you play. But you have to have the game's other resource, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of them to get to the next level of that tech thing. And at first I was like, this is one of those games that just has a bunch of cards, but it's kind of arbitrary. I've played several games of it, and it's one of, I think, the most fun while still being really easy to play, and the effects of the cards being pretty easy to just do. I think this would be a great 2-player addition to people who like to play the same 2-player game a bunch of times.
So when you're pushing planets, like you said, you had to get 3 planets to win. Is that a tug of war of 3 planets?
It's a tug of war on
Okay.
each planet. So all 5 planets have a track, and you have to push it 4 times down your track to collect it. And so, if it's 3 spaces down your track, I'd actually have to pull it 7 spaces my way to get it.
Yeah.
But then it just goes right back to the center once somebody earns it, and then you tug of war for it again. There's also bonus tiles that if you're the first person to score, to get one of the planets, the first time it's gotten, you get a bonus too. So it might be more advantageous to go to a planet that people aren't after. But I've been in this one game with one of my friends where he will win if he gets a planet, a 4th colored planet. and I will win if I get like I've never gotten all three of like the same one before because it's just kind of hard to do. And so we're having this like incredible battle where we have to keep kind of like deciding whether or not it's worth it to like pull our own planet that we're trying to get or like pull back the other person's planet. And I'm realizing like, man, this is really fun trying to like outsmart him. Because you get like slightly more powerful with every card you play because your cards get cheaper and you gain all these resources so you can get like go up and like do like higher like more crazy actions with the tech tree, and because the tech tree basically just gives you instant boosts. I don't know, Zenith, I really like it. The other one I want to talk about, if that's okay, is the Dead Cells board game. Also big designers, I think Antoine Bauza and like another bunch of his homies. So I don't know. I think this one's going to be pretty hot. The Slay the Spire game just came out and everybody loves it, right? Dead Cells is another video game IP, so a rogue-like game. Dead Cells is what you'd call a Rogue-Lite for the people who don't play a ton of video games. Basically, a rogue-like game is a game where you start and you're trying to get to the end, and basically it's procedurally generated. And if you fail, you got one life, and you go back to the beginning and you start just from scratch, square one. Rogue-Lite would mean that you have progression in between every run. So this is interesting as a cooperative game because you start out wimpy with your friends, and you like are fighting enemies. But basically, every time you die, you unlock stuff that you get to take into the next time you play. So I'm like a 4 or 5 runs in with our buddy Jordan from Australia, who is in the Discord. He and I have played several of those, and we're starting to get like a little bit further in the game, but I barely read or watched anything on how to play it, so he's probably suffering with me just making like dumb decisions. But it's very cool so far.
It's a co-op.
It is a co-op, yeah.
Okay.
And it's two like you could probably solo it too, but it's like 2 to 4 players basically.
Yeah, I saw it at Dungeons Gate. It's out now.
Yeah, it's I was really surprised when I put like a thing in the BGA chat, like a thing about who wants to play these new games that are on BGA, and nobody chose Dead Cells, and I was like, I thought I was going to get like 18 votes for that. So I guess maybe people aren't Dead Cells fans.
I mean, it's not like
I know of it, but that's it.
it's not an extremely popular board or a video game.
I mean, it's pretty big. I mean, it's one of those games that's like $20, and like everybody who likes video games owns it, and it has very to overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. And
I don't know that I could tell you a single one person that I know besides you that probably played it.
well, what I'm saying is like I don't know like how many like stands it has, but I think it's one of those games that like most people own because they pick it up in a bundle or it goes on sale. And like, oh, I hear this is good, but like I really like those kind of games, you know. But like Dead Cells is one of the big ones. People really like it's kind of a mashup between a Metroidvania, which has its fans, and roguelikes, which have their fans, and so.
Speaking of Metroidvania, I've been playing Ender Magnolia, which just came out. It's the sequel to Ender Lilies, and that game rules. I highly recommend both of them.
Plus, that's Scorpion Mask, too.
Yeah, it is Scorpion Mask. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a hot one. Dead Cells total sales. 10 million units. That's million with an M. That's bigger than 100,000.
By saying million with an M, weren't you just underselling your message?
I was.
Okay.
That was kind of the joke, because then you're like, 10 million, billion with a B. That's like what people say. But 10 million.
Tim and I have been playing another Scorpion Mask game.
Yeah, we were playing. Was it Sky Team?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I've been trying to learn him Sky Team over BGA.
Yeah, through BGA chat where we're not supposed to talk to each other. It's been like,
Yeah.
hey,
Doesn't it stop you from chatting?
No,
No.
you can talk like out of game type stuff.
Oh.
But like, I'm more so like, hey, Tim, we don't want this to happen.
yeah, and I'm like, hey, what happens if I run into this plane? Like, how does that work? You know, so it's significantly harder than I was expecting it to be, and maybe it's because I
Sky
suck.
Team?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very hard.
Dave Braun did the exact same thing with me. He taught me how to play it. He would just send me messages like, hey, this is what we got to do this round. I'd be like, okay.
yeah.
I'm good at it, though.
I wasn't giving even Tim that much information.
No, yeah, it was more. I was asking random questions, and Rob would answer 90% correct.
Yeah, there was one time where he was like, do we have 2 rounds left? And I think I said yes, and we had one
We had
round left.
one round left, and
Because I looked at the thing wrong, and
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden we crashed, and I'm like, why? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, we were at the airport.
yeah. So
We did skip the intro beginner mission.
Okay.
We went to like the next one.
Yeah.
Which basically just adds in like an extra black dice roll. But the first time we played it, I didn't tell Tim enough to be like, we need to move off of this. So it added more planes.
Oh, is that what happened? That's what the dice does?
Why aren't people inviting me to
Yeah.
Sky Team? I'm a good pilot,
the
dude. I will
end-
not crash.
At the end of the round, if the dice are still in the first slot, you roll them. At the beginning of the next round, you roll them and you add more planes.
Okay.
So you want to try to fly over those spots too, like move 2 to move past them.
Have you messed around with gas yet? Gas is so like, oh my gosh. Once you get into like gasoline, it's
No, and what got me back into Sky Team a little bit was I picked up the little expansion pack that's just like more missions and stuff, including penguins, which I'm curious what those are for.
Okay.
You're trying to land in Antarctica, I think.
I'm sure that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the black missions, which are supposed to be really hard. But
I think landing in Antarctica would be easy because there'd be no other planes. You know?
there's so many modules.
No
and,
helicopters.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Just so I fully understand the modules, it's kind of fun to play them on BGA because that enforces the right rules for them and stuff. Like I played one with Ichabod recently where we played with the intern, and I've never played with the intern before. He's like, I got to go check the rules. And then the intern is basically you have to put a dice down there on your side of the board, and you take the next number in his row.
You have
and
to
then-
micromanage him.
And then the other person puts one down, and basically you have to use up all of his numbers, which isn't really that hard of a thing because you can turn any number into your next number on the intern row. But we both completely ignored it for the beginning of the game because we forgot about it. And at the end, I'm like, oh, we're going to lose because we don't have enough turns to even
Get the intern.
use up all these, because you have to use up all the intern tokens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to, I don't know, trying to run through a bunch of these things.
But BGA rocks on it because it tracks how
Oh, your success and
at the
failures.
end.
Yeah.
At the end, it tells you which ones you've done.
Yep.
So you can always remember like what missions you've done.
You
which
know
is
what else
pretty
rules
cool.
about BGA and Sky Team is that instead of going to the rule book, you can click the question mark by the module, and it will be like, you have to do this.
Yeah, I was hoping that was going to be enough to teach Tim, but he kept asking me dumb questions.
Yeah, so
Sorry, Tim, there's no dumb questions.
I don't read those things, so just a heads up. Yeah, I don't.
But like Sky Team is the easiest thing to just learn on the fly on BGA, I think, just because you can click the little you can hit the question mark next to where the dice placement thing is, and it tells you exactly like the number here is where you take the plane off the thing.
Right. Yeah, I had to ask that question.
No, because you were like, why do I keep taking planes off and they're not taking the ones off I want?
Yeah, I just assumed like when you stuck a dice in the one area, it took the lowest plane off. But
Yeah.
that's not how it works.
What would you guys rather try to do? Your life depends on it. You have to win a game of Sky Team, but you only learn the rules for 30 seconds. Or you have to land a real plane, but somebody gets to tell you how to do it. Like the air control tower walks you through it.
I mean, play Sky Team.
No, you die if you fail either way.
Oh, you die if you fail either way. Oh, I'd land the plane.
You think
I would
so?
land the plane too.
You think the air traffic controller is going to walk you through, dude?
I just watched the movie Flight Plan in the theater the other day.
When they talk them through landing.
It was very good.
Okay.
Like the whole movie was in the airplane basically. But long story short, they're trying to this air marshal's flying this passenger to go. They're gonna go to court against this mob boss, and the mob boss infiltrates the airplane, and the pilot's Mark Wahlberg is the bad guy. You get all that from the preview. Anyway, it's all about that. And so
What kind of mob boss actually does the dirty work himself?
he doesn't. But,
Okay.
I mean, his people did, right? There's moles everywhere. Anyway, the movie's really good if you're into that kind of thing. It's kind of interesting because it's almost like a bottle episode of like a sitcom because once they're in after the first 5 minutes they're in the plane and the
That's
whole
it.
movie is the plane. So it's basically like these three characters: Topher Grace, Mark Wahlberg, and a lady I don't know her name. Sorry, lady.
In one set for.
Yeah, I mean, they
An hour and a
probably
half.
made the movie like super cheap. And the movie's like under 90 minutes. Like it's a short movie.
Sounds cool.
I didn't know Topher Grace still acted.
Yeah. He was the witness. So,
Sounds fun. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
So I got asked today what was the last movie that I watched like that wasn't a kids movie, and I could not even tell you. I could not tell you what the last movie I watched that was not a child's movie.
Mine was Trap by M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, what'd you think?
It was a wild adventure. I mean it's not a good
It was fun.
it's
I
not a
thought.
good movie, but it's enjoyable. Like
Yeah.
you have fun while watching it.
Yeah. It was enjoyable. I thought.
I don't know what the last movie I saw was. Kids or non. Oh, you know what? I watched Home Alone with my dad at Christmas time. It was on TV, and we were both sitting there talking about, like, what you talk about with your dad, just, life.
Man.
And Home Alone came on, and we were both like, I don't know if I've seen this since 1994 or whatever. And
I watch Home Alone multiple times every year because I love it. But recently, I had an awareness that I'm like, how did I never realize this? But I always thought Joe Pesci actually was a cop who just also robbed people.
No.
Yeah, I never knew that until like a year ago.
What?
I just thought he was a cop who then robbed people too.
But he didn't just dress up as the cop.
Yep, I thought he actually was.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jake.
Man, I watch a lot of movies, I guess, after talking to you guys.
Yeah,
I play video games, So, like, me and my wife will spend a little time together, like if we're relaxing in the evening and just, like, watch an episode of a TV show. But then we just were like, she wants to go do something, I want to go do something else. And so that's kind of how it be.
I've come, like, as I played more and more board games, I play less and less video games. Like, the last big video game I played a lot was World of Warcraft for years. And now, like, Bo wants to play video games, and we'll do it sometimes. But when did playing video games become such a chore of you got to...
logging in.
Like,
and
log in, do
setting
the-
up your account.
You got to play the right video games.
Like, there's just so much of it. It's roadblock after roadblock of something happening. Like, I want to put the cartridge in, and I just want to play the game.
Hey, Rob, you're old.
I know, right?
You know what you should play? You should go play Dead Cells. Because
you-
you just start playing and you just go play.
No, that doesn't sound like
But
fun either.
you know
You
what
should
game
actually
I'm
play?
loving that you just go pick up and play right away? It's called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. You guys know about that one?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Video games just don't hold my attention anymore. I do have one more game to talk about, Little Alchemists. That is by Matoush Kotri and Czech Games Edition. Tie in with tonight's game. Bo and I are up to box 6 of this. I think I've talked about it briefly, but I thought I'd come back and revisit where we're at. If you're looking for a fun game to kind of teach deduction with your kids, this one is it. And it's got an app, so people like,
Tim's out.
yeah.
I mean, I might be able to do the deduction in this one.
Plus, Tim can do the deduction
Yeah.
in this one. It's getting pretty serious by box 6. There's artifacts, and there are these pets that give you bonuses, and you're selling potions to people, and you're making them, and you're actually have 3 ingredients now, or 3 different things that make every potion. So I'm curious to see. I mean, box 7 is supposed to be like the full deduction kind of thing, but it's introduced a lot of things from the full game of Alchemists. And the last time it actually made money worth less points, like a half a point instead of a full point, because they want you to go buy the artifacts with the coins instead of just holding onto the coins.
When do they add the golems?
I think that's probably box 8.5 that doesn't exist.
I remember we played that, and Tim and I just had absolutely no understanding of how those things worked.
But
The golems?
Yes, I feel like outside of a BGA game, I don't know that I've ever understood something less in a real playthrough than that.
Well, you have to be smart to get it, to grasp it.
I get
so.
that. But it is good. Like, I think young kids can get this, especially starting with the first box, because it's so simple. And it adds just a little bit. Even, like, I think, Tim, you could start on box 6 and you'd be fine. I think you could completely do it.
Yeah, doubtful.
And the cool part
Does
is...
it have soup?
No.
Okay, well,
and
maybe.
And the cool part is the...
Soup is easy.
say that.
I'll teach you soup.
Campbell has explained soup to me so many times, and I still have no idea.
All right, here's the thing. In Alchemists, there's a little molecule and a big molecule, right? When you look at 2 ingredients, you look at where the big molecule and the little molecule match and have the same positive or minus symbol, right? If you cannot do that with the 2 molecules because there's no big molecule, little molecule plus minus match, it makes soup. So when you go look at the 8 different molecules or different combinations there, You look for 2 where you couldn't crush them together to make a potion, and the soup, those 2 ingredients must be one of those 4 sets.
Clear as mud.
It's 2 alchemical symbols that are the complete opposites
So,
of each other.
why Alchemist is hard is because it's very easy, but you have to learn it backwards because you have you make the potions and then you have to do the math backwards. It would be very easy to teach. I think maybe next time I teach, I'll just teach with a completed board and then start removing from the solutions area and be like, okay, well, this is how you do it. You have to figure out from the.
So that's what I was going to talk about next in Little Alchemists is the board where you publish your theories on there. It also kind of shows you what makes what. So you can go look out there and see what potions can make what and how many of that potion it can make. And so if a couple of things have already been guessed, that's when you can start using deduction by just looking at this cross-referenced grid and figure out, because in this game, all you're doing is one of 2 things. You're slamming 2 potions together, you're pointing your phone at it, and it's making something, or you're going to say, this potion is made by this, this set of 3 potions is being made by this ingredient, basically.
So is the figuring the same as it is in the main game?
No, I think at the crux of it is, but no, that it's explained in a different way that makes it easy for kids to understand. I think, and Tim.
I think you're giving me too much credit.
If you mix pee-pee and Coke, then you have pee-pee in the Coke.
That is true.
Yeah.
So if I
am I allowed to even talk about that joke in 2025?
I don't know what that means. But the last thing I'm going to say about it is, when you're done, there's a sticker sheet in the box, and depending on how well you did, you'll take so many stickers and put them over these locks on the next box, and it'll say, have you covered all the locks? And then you point your phone at the box, and then it opens up and it shows you all the stuff that's going to be in there. And then it plays a little animation, and then it tells you all the new stuff that's going to be in there. So you could really not ever open the rule book. Also, the app reminds you, okay, now discard your ingredients. The app is very, very good. It's just totally explaining how to play the game. You hardly would ever even have to read the rule book if you didn't want to.
And you don't need your not everybody needs the app. You just pass one phone around. Yeah.
Usually share the phone. Okay. So
how crazy is it?
And turns are super quick because you're literally just snap done.
How crazy is it that the Alchemist app seemed space age when it came out? It's this thing will take a picture of your cards. It's wow.
It was one of the first app-based games, so. Speaking of app-based games, it's not really. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Boo.
Although there are QR codes and there is a web app to help with setup, so we'll talk about that later. It is the search for alien life by launching probes and analyzing distant signals. It came out in 2024. It is already 243 overall. It is ranked with an 8.4, 1 to 4 players, best at 3, 40 to 160 minutes, ages 14 plus. The weight is 3.73 out of 5. The designer is Tomáš Holek, and it is by Czech Games Edition. Tim, you want to tell us what is up with SETI?
Yeah, so in SETI, you are sending probes out to, search planets for extraterrestrial life. You're scanning the cosmos to also, find aliens. And you're doing that by taking, I think, one of 6 actions. They're all kind of laid out on your board. They're all, fairly similar. You basically do an action on your turn, and you can do as many free actions as you want, which is kind of, little extra bonusy things you can get to kind of juice yourself up. So you are setting your probe out, which just goes outside of Earth and sits there, and that's it. You can then move your probe with a free action, and you can do a couple other things with it. You can drop it into orbit on a planet as you kind of moved into it. Those planets will the orbits usually let you get more income. The other things you can do is drop it onto the planet, which gets you usually the bonuses, and then one of the colors of search for extraterrestrial life comes from the planets. The next thing you can do is you can scan. So scanning, you kind of take, look at the board and you'll scan from Earth into a sector, and then you can scan using one of the cards into a different color sector. There's 4 different colors and I think 10 different sectors, something like that. 2 of each of the. No, there's 5. 8 sectors. 8 sectors. Yep. So you scan in those sectors. You can then juice that up through technology, which is another action you can do. You spend your publications. Publicity. You spend your publicity, you get a tech. Those techs juice up the 3 kind of different color areas, which would be scanning, the stuff with your probes. And then the last thing is data. As you scan and you do other things, you get data. With that data, you then can put it into a machine, which gets you you can kind of juice that up to get extra bonus points and stuff like that. And then when you run your machine, you get the blue alien technology. As you get all 3, so the red from scanning, the blue from your computer, and the yellow from landing on planets, you then flip over an alien, and that helps kind of set a tone for the game. There's 2 aliens per game, and then you do that until you run out of things to do. You do that 5 times. That's the end of the game. We'll get it to the table. And
the aliens are based off of real aliens.
Yeah. Real live aliens that came from Cam.
Yeah.
The Claw.
Hey, quick plug. Did you guys see the Root dropped their most recent expansion for DLC on the app?
Nope.
Yeah, you can play as the Marauders and the...
Another $10.
Yeah, probably. I didn't even look. I just grit my teeth and bought it. So I don't even really like the Marauders and the Batters that much. I think they're both kind of annoying factions. Anyway,
microtransaction, the app.
Yeah, microtransfaction is what they call it.
Macro transaction.
Yep. You know what I do is I buy it on my my Android phone, and I use Google Play rewards, and I tell them that I went to Hy-Vee once a day when they ask me, and in 6 weeks I have a Root expansion.
$7. Yeah. Yep. All right, let's go get this played, and we'll be back.
If someone tells you there's no other form of life, and you believe in that too, I'm gonna tell you about the other night. I swear that it's true. A cloud of white and green and flying ships I've never seen came into my view. Was I frightened? Was I scared? Was I thrown into confusion as they glided down so silently? It wasn't an illusion, no doubt about it. Oh no doubt about it.
All right, we're back. Tim, you bought this game from Jeremy.
I did, and then he bought it again.
What? Did that really happen?
Yes, yeah. So, the story of how I got my copy was we were playing it, and we posted in the Discord how great it was. He was like, "Hey, I'll sell it to you," or I think it was as joking. I was like, "Well, if you want to sell it, man, I'll buy it." So he brought it back from BGG Con about
Yep.
I don't know, call it 6 weeks earlier than you probably could have get it from retail, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
And so then I bought it from him, and he decided he also liked it enough, and that he bought it. So
I know, but your copy has the cool Pluto card.
it does, yeah. So
Sorry, Jeremy.
my first impressions of this game.
The Pluto card is only it's a
promo.
Yeah.
It's a fun promo, though.
It's a cool promo card.
Was that I liked it enough to talk someone in the Discord into selling me their copy. So there is that.
Well done.
Yeah.
For me, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, man, I think CGE missed for me. I don't really care about this game. And then I saw it at Gen Con, and I'm like, I like the cool rotating board. And so then I was like more into it. So it was one of my go-to things to go try at BGG Con for sure. But I was on a bit of a roller coaster before. I don't know, the original pictures of it. I don't know why, but it just kind of, I shrugged it off.
My first play was with Tim. We had a day where we just played a whole bunch of board games. I think it was around Christmas time, right? We took the day off.
Yep.
Anyways, Tim had it all set up, and at first when Tim was describing it, I thought this is complete gibberish, and then a couple turns in, it clicks, and you get it. But I really, really enjoyed it enough that it was my number 2 game on the last episode when we went through our top games of 2024, and I had only played it once, so that spoke pretty highly of it.
My initial thoughts on the game were I didn't think that the search for extraterrestrial intelligence was anything that I thought was like a super exciting. Just because, like, I don't know, like we were talking about this earlier on the podcast or not. I think we were talking about were we talking about aliens on the podcast, or were we just chatting about? I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
We'll see if it makes the cut.
Yeah, we'll see if it makes a cut. And I'm just like, you know. The idea of real life aliens being like close enough for us to find them is just kind of like not even that interesting to me. Now, if it's like a hard sci-fi, I'm more into like where it's like, yeah, but we're gonna try to go to these planets and like dig up space rocks and stuff. Like I like that. But then I saw the cover of the box with all these like goofy looking satellites pointing towards the sky and like a big probe being launched in the background, and I'm like, for me, that front of the box kind of slaps. I don't know why, but I like it.
I mean, that is SETI.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
man. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't like it in real life, but I like it in board game life, I think. I mean, I like it in real life too. I like that we're pointing dishes at the sky.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat. Like, hey, man, let's see what we can pick up. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's been around for whatever 40 years, and we've scanned like 1/1,000,000th of the night sky or something. It's some ridiculously small amount.
Wait, this game isn't about giving satellite TV to people in the 90s?
I mean, it could be.
This game is about Frank's 2,000-inch TV. You guys remember that Weird
Nope.
Al song?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Who's got a pro? I can start. I really like all the pieces in this game. They all feel very nice, and they give it like a good vibe. You know, it's got rewood, so all the little bobs and bits, and then like what's the data is like. I think it's the recycled plastic pieces. It all just feels really nice and looks nice on the board, and it kind of gives it a good. I don't know. It just makes it really enjoyable to play with. I think it's my biggest.
I mean, the table presence is nice. The sun in the middle looks cool. The spinning around works fairly well. Everything kind of stays in place for the most part. There's some recessed areas for some of the tokens. I think the rule book is really good. This game looks really big and imposing, but between the rule book and the player aids, and like I don't even need to touch the player aid anymore, but the player aid for your first play is really good, especially like, you could learn most of the game just from reading it.
I mean, your player board
And kinda
honestly
get it.
tells you all the actions you can kind of see right there. I want to say, despite when the game was being taught, I just feel like the thing that is hard to overcome right away is the what do I do? Like there's just because you learn all the actions and you're like, what do I do first? What does the order matter? But despite the table presence being huge, I don't feel like what you're looking at is intimidating necessarily. Like sometimes with really big games, you can just say, I'm going to ignore that whole component. And I feel like everything is pretty connected to where you don't feel that way. Or maybe the aliens you would, but those aren't visible yet. So the reveal of those later is nice because you've had enough time to digest the rest of the game, and then you're adding that in. If those were there up front, then that might be the opposite of what I'm saying. But I think that's a cool component of this too. There's a reveal that comes later, and the versatility of what is going to come out of those. And those aliens do pretty fundamentally different things, and the cards on them are different things. So I think that's fun and adds a nice level of replayability to it.
Yeah, because the board is kind of broken up into almost 4 sections. So there's like at the top or one side, there's all the technologies and your publicity, which is also a technology thing. You don't have to worry. If we look at technology, that's the only part you have to worry about. If you want to move your probes, it's the middle. And then once you move it someplace, then you do the other side with all the planets. And then the aliens come out. So you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's very like...
segmented in a way that just makes sense upon first looking at it, I think.
Yeah, the last part I wanted to mention about the rule book too is it looks big, but if you read it, it's fairly easy to go through, and like
It's mostly pictures.
it's a lot of pictures, and like it's not even like big walls of text. They'll have like a little box of text here and a little box of text there.
Yeah.
It's basically just how do you do the actions, how does the game rounds work, and then like end game scoring, and
The solo rules are almost as big as the entire rule book.
yeah, exactly. So lots of cool pictures and examples, and they have a really good FAQ that that's on BGG that has like talks about all the cards and stuff, which also that's a huge stack of cards, and they're all different, which I think is cool. Like,
And you don't have 100 in your hand at a time.
yeah, today I had more cards in my hand than normal.
Which was how many?
I had at a maximum like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
But that felt good. I really the thing that I have done more as I keep playing is utilize the trading stuff for stuff. And it really depends on what you're making, I guess. But today I made a bunch of cards, and so the ones I didn't want, I was turning it into money and energy. And I really like this game similar to Arnak, where it's kind of like I kind of play the game with a just-in-time kind of strategy, where it's like you just have to have the right thing at the right moment to do the right thing. Except for when somebody takes your right thing, and then another person takes your other right thing, and then you got to go to plan C, and then you don't have anything to do that with. That feels good and bad all at the same time. But
There is some
it's
fun.
good.
There's some fun wobble into being able to. How can I do what I want to do with what I have available, and that's fun. One thing I want to mention in regards to the deck, because sometimes big deck games I don't like, in the fact that there's just a ton of. It can be hard to have the control that you want, but because even though there's a market that's visible, because you almost always draw cards face down from the deck, you don't necessarily have to be aware of what's up in that market. Other than there's a couple actions that use components of those cards, but you're just basically drawing from the deck in most cases, and so then you take it into your hand, so you don't have to be aware of what cards are up there to know that you need to do it at that moment. I think that that's smart.
hey, Campbell, I love the multi-use cards in this game.
Do you really?
Spoilers.
Do you really actually?
Yeah, I do. I mean, because it's easy. It's like you can dump it for income, or you use it for scanning, or you tuck it for income.
Yeah, that's true. They are easy.
Or you do it for the action of the card. But yeah, every card has like 4 uses, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, you know what I like about this game? I thought that the thing where you're going around the galaxy and it's rotating, but then like you're just flying off to like that little static board up there is maybe there's nothing so special about like that you fly up to like the little planet static board, but it just feels cool to me. It's like, oh, I'm landing here now.
Yeah.
Like that's a physical representation of where my dudes are at. And then like I bring my little lander and I'm like, put it down and like, drop onto the planet or like circle it in orbit. It's just, I didn't think I'd like the theme of this game very much, but to me it just kind of kicks, actually.
Yeah, do you think... Unfortunately, I'm not sure that this is also in the Galaxy Trucker universe.
Oh, but
I suppose if it is, that means we're in the Galaxy Trucker universe.
Are all of the space games supposed to take place in the
No, I'm just making that
But
up.
like, is Pulsar in the Galaxy Trucker universe?
Sure.
I say it is because they have the same ship meeples.
That's true. That is true. So do you think you're flying space junk in Pulsar? No, probably not. You're probably like part of the rich people because like in Galaxy Trucker, the space junk is like literally to fund like plumbing on backwater planets, right? And that's
Right.
why you're flying that crap there, which is a really good theme. Man, Galaxy Trucker is cool.
I guess to go more on the cards on this, I really like how all the cards also are like real science things. And if you're real bored between your turns, you have something to read.
Yeah.
And you can learn something. It's kind of like the Wingspan birds. I like that.
The cards look nice. All the art's really great on the
Yeah.
cards. Yeah. And then the technology, I think, is everybody can get the same technology. You can only get each technology once, and they all do different things that I think can unlock part of your game as you kind of get through them. I haven't really dug into the blue ones too much, but
They just give you more stuff.
Yeah.
They feel good.
yeah.
But then it takes more tokens, which leads into scanning. And all three of the technology facets kind of feed into each other. Because like scanning can give you stuff that then drops down onto the blue board, which would then bump your blue technologies. But there's also that one tech that I'd like to do next time, is the pink tech that lets you launch stuff easier. And then do a lot of scanning and do a lot of probes. But I also feel good in this game that I feel like this isn't I'm going to just do the game. I think to do well, you have to interlace everything together and do all of it to some extent. Maybe you're doing one thing super hard, but you can't ignore anything, I think, in this game. I mean, I suppose you could never scan maybe, but there's a lot of benefits to scanning too.
I really had a fun time with the extremely limited resources in this game. It felt really bad at the beginning when I didn't really know what I was doing, but by the end of the game, I was like, this is the coolest thing about this game. I have no idea. Rob has this superpower. Whether or not he wins Lost Ruins of Arnak or whether or not he wins at SETI, he's incredibly good at making his stupidly small amount of resources last a really long time. That's your gaming superpower, Rob. Is you're an incredible budgeter. You go look for moves where it's like, I'm spending a coin, but I'm going to get a coin.
There is a lot of that in this game, possibly. Or finding the technology that gives you the other resource you need to go do the other thing. I love chaining things together.
What's interesting is I think you can play this game either way, because Rob chained a bunch of things together, and I blew my credits all in one place, pretty much every round. I know Tim's laughing. I almost did. I almost did, Tim. And I spent all my credits freewheeling, and this is my first time playing the game, and my score was pretty close to Rob's. So I think you can go out and, whereas in a game like Terraforming Mars, I think if you go out and you spend 40 credits on those big cards right at the beginning of the game, I guess maybe they're the best to do that, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not grokking Terraforming Mars enough. Where I'm like, no, buy the cheap ones. They give you money income, But I feel like this one, as long as you're smart about where you're putting things, you can kind of buy the big mamma jammas and do a bunch of little tiny actions.
I think another really good thing about this game is that there is such a payoff for the things that you're working towards. There's so many points to be had, depending on what you're working towards. If you get the landing on the moon technology and you land on one of the moons of the faraway planets, that's 25 points, which in today's game, that's 1/6 of the total points you score in the entirety of the game. And it doesn't necessarily take that much to build towards doing those things. So most of the times when you take actions, there's a reward for it, or it feels good. There's sometimes you need to kind of set yourself up, but it's definitely not a game where you need to constantly rebuild up to something big. You can kind of do that through the turns as you move forward.
Yeah.
Maybe another pro?
I have a bunch of stuff that's probably middling.
Yeah,
Or
hit
going
it.
either way. So one thing is the endgame objectives that you score by getting to the gold points on the score track. I didn't really mention that to Campbell, I guess, but I think something I do when I teach the game from now on is tell people it's somewhat of a race, because if you get there earlier and you get those things that you're going to, that's a big deal. And if you're already winning the game and getting to those first, and then you're going to get more points for the stuff you get at the end of the game, you're just winning more, right? So I don't know how I feel good, bad, or indifferent about those, but just know that it is kind of a race, and you get points and drip drops, but then also big chunks. I know I got to a thing before Tim because he was stuck 2 points away from one forever, and I was able to nibble my way up and get a bunch of points and take one of them. And is that a make or break it? I don't know, but it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that's sort of like in Castles of Burgundy, how when you have your little tiny spaces, it benefits you to go build those right away in the first round because of the bonus points, because you get increasing amounts of points for the larger ones you do later. So maybe they just decided that like the big point payoffs were weighted strong enough where it benefited like somebody, like, so you didn't always wait to go do the huge things, you just go get points right away. Because you like, Jake, you got 7 points per 2 techs tonight, right? Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, I scored 21 points from that.
And I got 3 points, so I got 9 points from mine. And if we had switched spots, you know, I would have gotten 21 points and you would have gotten 9 points, and that could be like a first to fourth place swing right there. And Jake was the first one there, and he was. I mean, what did he get? Third place today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, again, that may have been intentional balancing for the, you know, running to like Mercury really quick or whatever you got to do to get like 8 points instead of 27 points, which all that really costs you is just moving your ship like 2 or 3 more times to go get that huge point drop. Although if you go do that early in the game,
you have to have the tech to land on the moon too.
Oh, true. Because you can't land on moons. Moons!
Yeah, and I like the difference. Like, sure, you can get 26 points for landing on a moon, but you can get 10 points and a bunch of stuff that lets you do other stuff to give you points too, which tonight I opted for that way because Tim took all the big moons I was aiming for before I could get there, which bummed me out, but also I guess probably worked out okay because I just pivoted and went and did something different and still got points. It's very point salad-y as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, you score a decent amount of points at the end of the game, but there's not like you score the gold cards and then the gold things that are on the board, and that's it.
Something I've done the last 2 games that I didn't do in any of my previous games is actually have cards with gold scoring things on them. I think those are slightly a big deal, especially if you get one like early, like in your starting hand, because you can work on that the whole game.
Yeah, they're expensive though, usually.
They are, but they also usually do something good too.
While we're on the prawn track, I think there's something else to be said for it can be a pro if you are somebody who likes, you know, trying to find a way to, you know, be the most economical you can be to make your turn last or to do extra things. But also, if you just have a big card that's going to be really good for you, there can end up being so much downtime because you get done really quick and somebody's able to nickel and dime a whole lot of turns. So game length is something that I want to mention when we get to the next part, but I think that's a pro and a con, and the fact that it's nice when it's you and you're being able to think about and puzzle all the way through that. But I mean, there was a time where Tim took like 2 actions in a round, and then how long did you wait?
45 minutes. Probably,
yeah. Like, which is brutal. So that might dissuade you from wanting to buy the expensive cards. I don't know, but that's definitely prawn territory, I think.
I got one more pro. The aliens. I think the alien variety is really good. I'm not really going to probably won't talk about what each of them do, but they all have general benefits, and I like the 3 colored tracks that are on each of them, and they all have different little things. Sometimes you spend stuff, sometimes you get stuff just by putting them on there. They're all kind of a point salad mix in there, and I think between that and the cards, they feel very different from each other.
Yeah, I really like the decks of cards that come with them. They do different stuff.
And as soon as you get those, you're like, oh, I didn't realize cards could be this good, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the pinks are way harder to get than the others because nothing stops you from going down to a planet.
That's because you don't scan.
But my point is though that by scanning, somebody can then just come in later and win the majority by being the last one in, and then all of your efforts towards getting that pink bump are for naught. Whereas nobody can stop you from getting the yellow bump from going on a planet. Nobody can stop you from getting the data to get the blue ones, but you can be thwarted by putting effort into the pink ones and not get those.
I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know if this is a con or a pro. So I was thinking the whole time, it's like, man, these pink ones are hard to get. And I think it's because every game I've ever played, ever, when you're trying to do something for like like the person who has the most of this when it's filled gets the reward, always ties towards the person who was the first to place one. And this game, it's the person who's last to place that ties for the most.
I've been thinking about that, and I think they do that because that incentivizes those to get finished. Whereas if it was the other way around, if I saw you had 2 in there, I'd be like, all right, you just do that yourself, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know why else it would be like that. You know what I mean?
No, but not only do I think that's like why they did it, especially with like the way the thing's turning the whole time, you have to wait forever for it to get back there.
Unless you have, so if you're going to do scanning, you need to get the scanning tech that lets you drop 4 of them a turn. And then they're in different spaces.
I think if I'd had those, I wouldn't have like I did the scanning action like 3 times and I never got one of those things.
Yeah.
It made me so mad. But I think that if I had just focused on that tech, then I would have gotten like 2 of them probably.
The trick to scanning, I mean, there's a lot of cards that let you scan stuff or pick what you scan too. So you have to be more intentional with scanning, I think. I did scanning my last game, and that's the best score I've ever had in this game. I did a lot of scanning. And I ninja'd a lot of scanning from people too, just because I could drop 4 things at a time, or I'd have a card at a certain time that let me put one down.
Scanning can get you a ton of points too, because you get all that data. And if you have like nice data level ups too, you get 2 points every time you hit one of those.
Yep.
Can I drop a little con in here?
Yeah.
Scanning at 2 players felt really bad. I've only played it once, but like if the other person isn't doing it really much at all, it almost makes it impossible to do it. So, because there's no update to the rules or like a different setup or something. Hey, take 1 data cube out of each scan.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it should just take less.
There's variant. People are already talking about that on BGG, and a lot of people are liking this 1 less data per zone variant.
I think that would be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It just a little bit, because getting 8 in there by yourself, even if you have the tech, because you can almost never.
I mean,
drop.
the biggest zone has like 5, right?
I don't think so. I think
Some of
it's
them
way
have at
more than
least
that.
6.
There's
'cause there's
bigger
a
ones?
2 and
The
2, and
blacks
I
are-
was thinking about being.
Yeah.
Okay, 6.
The black zone is 4 and 5.
Oh, you're right.
So it's got to be 6, 7, 8 probably.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just, I don't know. I was expecting when I was reading through the rules, setting up a 2-player game, for there to be some concession there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
I've only played 4-player games, so
The solo bot though just hammers on it, so it lets solo, like, it doesn't matter at all because they crush through it a bit. So the cubes get moved down a lot. I don't know. You want to talk about some other cons?
Yeah, it's a really, really long game. And if you know that going in, then that's maybe not a con to you. But I mean, the box says 40 minutes per player, and I think that's probably accurate. But that's still a really long time if you play with 4 players, especially if you play with people who aren't especially fast. Because at the beginning, especially, there is so many options with the way you can go that it can lend itself to really intense AP. So you got to know what you're getting into, I guess. And then it's just a matter of, well, is it worth what you're going to get out of it for the amount of time that it takes?
Even Rob got kind of lost in the sauce today, but I do think that this game, and maybe this is just me being optimistic, I do think this game would be like a lot shorter with multiple plays and you playing with people you know. Because like Jake said something when we first started playing. He's like, man, I felt really lost when we first started playing. And it's like, there's not a ton of direction from the teach. But once I sort of knew how the game was being played, I was thinking a lot during the end of the game. But I think it was more because I had to cobble together, like, you know, all of the random stuff I did at the beginning of the game. If you go in like, oh, hey, these are... I think you can kind of... You don't really know what cards you're going to get, but I think you can kind of go like, okay, here's my intentions for what I'm trying to do, and I'm going to utilize the cards I get, like discard for stuff the ones that don't get me towards that, and keep the ones that do. You know, you may overestimate or underestimate what you can get done, but I think you can make faster decisions because you like kind of have that strategy, and it's like here are things that like I'm trying to get another ship launched, and over here, so I'm going to keep this card that lets me launch a ship and get a move, or I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Have you guys played a lot of games where everybody's played that still went way too long?
I have not played where everybody's played, so it's always been teaching.
yeah, I have not played a game where it was not new to somebody.
Yeah.
But I think after a first play, I think you could get it down to 2 hours for 4 players. I think 30 minutes per player is probably doable. And for the most part, I think turns can be fairly quick. The thing is, like, a lot of times, as long as you're paying attention, tonight I think it was an off thing. We had a lot of extra outside interference going on.
Like me sending food to the wrong house 20 minutes away.
Yeah. So if you're paying more attention, a lot of times you could just know what you're doing next, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's not the board can rotate, I guess. But for the most part, usually I have like my next couple of moves in my head as I'm going. And a lot of things don't take that much time, you know? Spend things, do that. But depending on how many turns you finagle out, I will say it feels real bad. The second time I played this game, I think I took like 2 actions in round 2. And then I was just like out for a while. So yeah, if you go out early and then everyone else has a bunch of stuff to do, you can be sitting there for a while for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. That's a little bit of how it is with these kind of games where it's, you know, the resource management or whatever, and hopefully your large turns mean something. Nah.
How detrimental do you think this game would be if it took the Everdell model of you just moved on to your next round instead of waiting? Because you really take your income independently. You don't pull from the cards, the market that's available for the most part.
I mean, you'd be rejuiced with a bunch of resources when nobody was, but I don't know if that matters.
I don't know that it matters either. I mean, there's a chance that you would end the game 30 minutes before. I've never played Everdell, so like, does that happen?
I don't. I mean, it can.
It could.
Yeah.
It definitely can.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be an interesting shot. But
Is it better to have that in the middle of the game or at the end of the game?
I don't know. No,
Probably pretty
in the
indifferent.
middle. You just laugh at Cam for ordering food to the
Oh
wrong
my
place,
gosh,
you know?
dude.
That's true.
I mean, BGG says best at 3 players. I'd like to get a 3-player game in. It's hard for us to get 3-player games in general because we don't really get, like, when we're at a game night, it's usually fill up every table or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get a 3-player game in at some point in time. Solo, I think I soloed the thing in 20 minutes. Like, it's not
I'll
long
have
at
to
all.
try that out. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I haven't had a chance to play 2-player either. I've only played this at 4, and it's been pretty close to 2 hours every time I played it, but it's always been with new people.
You can just roll yourself down an AP hole for a significant amount of time.
You can. So even I was falling into that spiral a little bit because, like, what can I do to completely maximize my points? And there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And I guess it's to my point earlier where I said you can kind of plan your moves ahead. I had done that a couple of times and then Cam and Tim took both my things, and so I had to figure out a plan C.
Rob took my thing so many times this game that I wanted to do, like 2 times, and so he actually owes me one. So that's all I'm saying.
I'll get you next time.
All right, last thing for me. I wish there was a little more variety, and like I would love an expansion pack that's like 5 more aliens and 5 more endgame scoring things.
I mean, wait a year.
Yeah, I mean, but like especially the endgame scoring cards that kind of flip. I know they're like the 4 kind of things that you're doing, but it just feels like even with so you place 4 out and they're double sided and you just randomly put aside, but the sides are one's technology, one's income, one's putting the alien things out, and one is missions. And there's nothing. You're always going to have those 4 things, and it just feels like there could be a lot more variety there.
My other con is just remembering to do a lot of the upkeep things. We caught ourselves multiple times forgetting to spin the universe. The other thing that in my last 2 games we've been great about, but taking the endpoint tiles when you cross the gold line. The first couple times I played, we completely forgot multiple. Like later on, like, okay, who crossed that first? Because nobody was taking them.
I think to Tim's point as well about adding variety there, it almost just kind of feels inconsequential. Like you might look at them in the beginning and say, oh, I really want to get to that one in the race. But then when you do your second and third, it's like, I don't know, what's going to give me a couple more points, I guess. I mean, I don't, they're not that interesting to plan around, I think.
No, and they're all fairly hard to get. Like you're going to do most of them a couple of times, maybe. At least the ones that are like the bigger point ones. There was one that have like sets of sets of the
Income.
But
yeah.
the last
Tough.
time I played, there was sets of the technologies, and I think I ended up with 2 2/3 sets. Like I tried to just hammer the heck out of technology that game, so I was one short of getting that 3 times, which that was a bunch of points. But
I did that with I guess so 7 times 3. I had 3 sets to get 21 points.
yeah,
from
but
that,
they're hard to do, right?
they are. Yeah.
You want to get final thoughts?
I think so. Here on the Board Boys podcast, we have a 3 Boeing rating scale. One time only, you can give a 4 Boeing rating to a game, 0 being the worst, 3 being the best. Campbell, why don't you give us a 0 and a 3 Boeing game of SETI?
0 Boeing game of SETI. Aliens are real, and they're really friendly, and they stink really bad, and they're really, really stinky. 3 Boeing game of SETI.
They're all ET.
That
You
is a -1 Boeing game.
you are the first person to meet aliens ever, and somehow the government doesn't kill you and say that you killed yourself.
Dang.
So you're just
You know that the first guy to meet aliens is gonna like, hey, sorry, bud. Like, cause like, you don't get to have that. Like, they're not gonna let you have that power. You know, not the aliens might, but
That
the
guy might
government
already be dead, or a girl might already be dead.
All right, I'll go first on this one. I'm wibble wobbling on this one. I just had looked at BGG, and I think I originally gave this a 9, and I was going to give it a 2 Boeing tonight. But after talking about it more, I think I'm going to give it 2.5, because the more I talked about it, the more I liked all those things. And the only real thing that's holding me back is maybe the playtime or / downtime, which I don't know if it's that big of a deal unless you're teaching new people, probably. I think this is a game that has a slightly steeper learning curve to get over it, and after that fact, it should get hopefully better.
Yeah, I'll go next. I was walking in here definitely giving this 3 Boeings. I think I'm still going to give it 3 Boeings, even though this was by far my least favorite play, and it wasn't even close. And I think it's all like just the downtime and the length, and I'm not really sure I would ever really like if there was 4 people, I would choose probably a different game. But if it's 3 or 2 players, like I think this game.
Yeah, but
is,
2
is
has the
amazing.
scaling problems, though. I guess unless you introduce that
Yeah,
variant.
I'm gonna give a shot. But like solo is really fun. I really would love to try 3 players. 2 was I really enjoyed our 2-player game. So
I mean, what would hurt? I mean, you're only hurting yourself by taking a variant, right?
Right,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
if it makes it more fun, then
yeah.
100% do it.
And I think it has room to grow if more aliens come out and there's maybe some more scoring cards or something. I think it would make it.
I mean, it's 100% an easy small box expansion to just add more stuff.
Right.
I will say one final thought for me with the aliens. I think some of them are far more interesting than others.
Sure.
Like, I honestly don't like the bug people where you got to go deliver them and
See, I
stuff.
like
I don't know why, but like they seem like way more work than like the juice is not worth the squeeze on those guys. Oh, I also forgot to talk about one more con. It doesn't happen every game, but sometimes the first alien that comes out just seems real juicy, and then the second one gets unlocked like at the very end of the game because nobody goes to unlock them. And I think that can happen. And like the aliens are some of the most interesting things in the game. So unless you're like suboptimally going to go unlock this other alien, although you do get the cards when they get unlocked, right? So you get kind of a boost when that happens. So that's what I try to do tonight and to get them unlocked. And I think they're the bluffing aliens, the one that gives you tons of points, but you lose 10% of your score if you get the most danger. Those are getting a lot of hate online too, but I think they're my favorite because I like bluffing.
Those actions are wild too. The things that you can
Yeah,
do with
their
that.
cards are nuts. Their end game, like you put the cards face down for the end game, and like there's bonkers points in those. And I've won a game where I lost 10% of my score, but it didn't matter because I just went hard into them anyway.
I can go next. I I guess, the opposite of Tim in the fact that I also was walking in here thinking this is definitely going to be a 3, but I think tonight's play did knock it down a little for me. And so I'm going to give it a 2.5, which I still really, really like this. I think it could be a 3 at some point. I guess ultimately where I'm landing after tonight's play is just that it is similar enough to Ruins of Arnak for me, and I just like that more. So I guess in that instance, I would just play Arnak instead.
See, I also give it that top. Like, I guess I compare those, but to me, they're not really. Besides the fact that they're like an efficiency puzzle, there's nothing similar about them.
I think outside of the theme, it is really similar.
I mean, you're just like managing resources to do your actions.
Very limited economy and trying to get the specific things you need to make things happen. I don't know. I guess the vibe I get when I play it is really similar to me. So. But I still really like. I think it's a wonderful game. I think it's really interesting, and the quality of the components is great. I don't know. Tonight's play I think did diminish it a little bit for me.
I think this game was fun, man. I think I would be tempted to give it a 3, although I think part of the reason I'm going to give it a 2.5 today is because I have a sneaking suspicion that. Even though I sort of felt tonight like, man, there's a lot of stuff I could have gone and done instead of what I did do today, I just have a suspicion that my subsequent plays of this game would be working out just kind of like what endgame scoring strategy I was going to go for every single time, and that like my plays would be very similar. Maybe not. There are the aliens.
The aliens changed it up quite a bit, yeah.
The aliens do change it up.
Because everybody besides me did a bunch of alien stuff tonight. Like the cards and everything. Yeah, you know. So if there were different aliens, that would have changed all 3 of your games pretty significantly.
That's true.
Possibly. I mean, they all give cards. They all have juicier cards and stuff. The spots are different. They all have like their own little twist, but they're all...
I don't know. You guys delivered to the asteroid, like you landed on the asteroid a bunch. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I did like that one. Yeah. I like the one. One of my favorite other aliens is the one where you basically discover something, this species but they're like similar to us, but they're so far away. It takes like so many years for messages to travel, and so their thing is every time you play one of their cards. And when you discover them, you put these markers 15 points ahead of where you are, and you're always just racing to
played that one.
Get to the next 15 pointer to get stuff. And I think those guys are cool.
I did not understand that was the theme to them, however.
You know what? I think that you guys have convinced me. The game was kind of a drag tonight, but nonetheless, I think I'm going to give this a 3. 3 boings.
Cool. All right. Well, that will wrap us up for SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. On the Board Boys podcast, we like to look 1 year in the past. We're going to look at Djinn. Campbell, hit us with that theme song.
It's your chance, do your dance, do the bump. Do the bumpty bump. Do the bump or dump. Do it, baby. Do the bumpty bump. Do the bumpty bump. All right, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style. You guys know that song?
I don't think that's the first time you've done that song to the bumper.
I don't know about that.
I'm getting a little deja vu right now.
Podcast auditors, find it.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't that exact rendition.
Pack it up, pack it in, let me begin. I came to win, battle me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, who sings the first song you were talking about, though?
Humpty Hump, but it's they're called
Digital
Underground. It's Jacques G. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that movie they're in with Dan
terrible
Aykroyd?
Movie, Nothing But Trouble.
Oh no, that's what I was trying to think of.
And that was when Tupac was in Digital Underground, so Tupac's in that video.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie was whack.
Yeah, with like Dan Aykroyd playing like a couple different characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you get a bunch of famous people and they like make a trash movie together. It's like, you know what? That's like Nothing But Trouble is like today when like Kevin Hart and The Rock Kevin Hart and The Rock and Gal Gadot get together to make a movie, and they have like I don't know who's the most terrible musical artist right now. They got like Taylor Swift in there. Sorry, I know you guys are all like Swifties.
All right, back to Djinn.
Taylor Swift might be too good to be in a movie that Kevin Hart and The Rock and Gal Gadot are in. Anyway,
that's probably true.
Maybe it'd be like, man, who's that girl that everybody likes that I think is lame? Charlie XCX is she's the musical guest.
All right, she played here not that long ago. So 7.4 original, 4578 is now a 7.3. Bump or dump?
Bumpity bump. Bump.
Yeah, it bumped. Not very much. 3438. So
it's a hidden gem.
You gave it a 2.5. Rob gave it 2.5. Cam 2.5. Jake 2.
Yeah, it's still a 2.5. I've taught it to my wife. She really likes it. I played it multiple times since then. It's fun.
I missed what game we were talking about because I was
Djinn.
thinking about. Oh, Djinn, yeah.
Djinn.
That game was cool, man.
I still think I'm at a 2. I know I've said this before, but the negative ability drafting part at the beginning is my favorite part of that game. That's
the
such
best
a
part
fun.
You know what I didn't like about Djinn? I never really liked those games where you have like a pile of something, and then like you go there and it gets smaller, and that happens in Djinn, right? Like where you go pick up the Djinns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, until they're all gone.
Yeah.
I just like
Something
corking
about
them
that
in a
like-
bottle.
Yeah, that
Like
is cool.
like just that whole mechanism.
That is
like,
a fun aesthetic.
it feels thematic, and you're like actually doing it. So
I just think the segmented scoring is kind of weird. How you just kind of end up in the same place, especially depending on what the objectives are.
Yeah, and if the two of you play, it's
Then-
a 7-hour game.
Yeah.
yeah, but we score 5,000 points.
Yeah. All right.
I really think that my score was double that game what it was any other time.
Oh, I'm sure. That was so funny though.
Yeah, I just don't do that.
There's just one left, and Rob and I are just running around doing other things away from him the whole time.
Like I'm the one that just bites the bullet.
I went on BGG, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Because I was like, "This game was weird."
He was like, "What are coins for?"
Yeah.
Like I had so many coins that were
know.
unnecessary.
Yeah, we played it wrong, but so right.
All right. Well, if you want to give us some feedback, you can do so at our Board Game Geek Guild. BJ from Board Game Gumbo says, I played Djinn this week, and it's as fun as I remembered. It will have staying power of Concordia and Castles of Burgundy. Or will it have it? No, I don't think so. But the designer has some very interesting ideas in here regarding the movement on the board and the action selection. Sits solidly between 2 and 2.5 boings, maybe even higher if we keep playing it. There's just something cool about popping those genies back into the bottle.
Word.
Yep. Dave Braun says, it's been way too long since he's played Djinn. I remember enjoying the game and liked the card tile drafting at the beginning of the game that adds a nice twist. That's what Jake said. He would give it 2.5. And then our buddy Jeremy Dobler mostly mirrors BJ's sentiment. This for sure is a bumpity bump, is a fantastic game, and he thinks it's 3 boings. So
Hey Cam, can you talk to your BGA connections and get SETI and Djinn on BGA?
yeah.
Those would both be tight.
Yes, I'll ask. Who's that dev that I like so much? T. Isaac.
Yeah.
Like wouldn't
I'll ask that
wouldn't
dude.
SETI be such a banger BGA
SETI would be
game?
a banger on BJ because it would do all that work for you.
Yeah. And then when it's not your turn, you just don't log in.
Correct.
You know, and then you let everybody finish out, and
It
you
fixes
show back up, and you're
all
like,
the
oh, a
issues.
lot of stuff happened.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. That's it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Board Boys podcast, season 16, episode 2, SETI search for extraterrestrial intelligence, aka the ET game.
AKA the ET game.
Go to theboardboys.com. Check out all the links. You can find. I'm trying to fix some social media Instagram things. The website's being dumb. But you can still get to our Patreon and support us there. And you can also get to our Discord and go hang out with us. I did see a message from somebody today that I'd never seen before. So I think
Yeah.
they've been around, but they're on there. So keep coming, hanging out, and playing BGA with us and discuss the podcast episodes because that's always fun. I'd like to thank our patrons now, though. Hannon McDonough, BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Timothy Crisco, Shifty Teeth, Mitchell Prudhomme, Jordan Smith, Jeff Gray, Andre Bosch, which I hung out with Andre in Nolans. That was good fun.
Tight.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Braden Dowdy, Rob Cooper, Richard Lane, Matt Kelly, Jeremy Thoman, and Dom Lankin. Thanks for listening, and until next time, we hope you like board games.
Boing, boing, boing.
I can't wait for
Phone home.
yeah. I can't wait for
No.
Cam's next stream to be DJ Steve Walsh like as a zombie.
Bro, Zombie Walsh.
Here come the Martians. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're riding on their Martian bike. And we have to find out right now, what kind of flavor do these Martians like? Here come the Martians, and they're riding on their Martian bike. Well, we have to find out right now, what kind of ice cream do the Martians like? Well, here come the Martians. Why staying in such a cheap hotel? Maybe we should help out the Martians. Looks like the Martians ain't doing too well. Martian time. Well, it's Martian rhyme time. We got a Martian rhymes for Martian time. And the Martians got notebooks in their little hand. Well, they're strangers in this land. Martian time, it's Martian time. Well, here come the Martians. They're trying to fight with rocks and sticks. Don't the Martians know better? Looks like they're up to their same old tricks. Well, here come the Martians. They got notebooks in their hand. What do they try to write down? I guess they must be strangers in this land. Martian rhyme. Well, Martian time. Well, you got Martian rhymes for Martian time. See, the Martians have notebooks in their little head. See, they're still strangers in this land. Martian time, it's Martian time. Gentlemen, tell them all about it. Baking up a Martian cake. We better find out right now, what kind of flavor do these Martians make? Well, here come the Martians. There are Martian schoolgirls too. Well, I like the Martian schoolgirls, and I hope they like me too. Martian rhyme. It's Martian time. You got the Martian rhymes for Martian time. The Martians have notebooks in their little head because they're strangers in this land. Martian rhyme, it's a Martian time. Me and Curly. Well, here come the Martians. Well, they're baking up a Martian pie. I hope the Martians like me and give some to I. Well, here come the Martians. Well, they're setting up a Kool-Aid stand. Well, where's their financial advisor? Somebody should take him by the head. The Martian rhyme. Martian time. You got a Martian rhyme for Martian time. And the Martians have notebooks in their little hand. They're still strangers in this land. Martian rhyme, it's Martian time.